Alright, y'all, let's finish off the artwork folder right here for artwork analyses here. Now, you look at the Holy Cross, unknown artist, I bet you're expecting some kind of, like, old religious iconography, maybe a classic religious painting. Nah, fam. Bow! The Holy Cross. One of my favorite... This is actually a meme that I found on Facebook like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. But, interestingly enough, there's some really cool stuff going on in the artistry of this painting. Maybe that doesn't stick out at first glance that we should point out here. Like we did with, or like I did in our other artwork analysis video with Starry Night, take a moment to just pause this video and look at this image, see what kind of themes and techniques you can spot in this one. I'll kind of analyze this one in just a moment here after you resume your video. By the way, I would point out, yes, this is my computer background. Makes me smile and laugh every time I see it, but it's a big reminder of who God is. Alright, let's look at this thing. So, Holy Cross. I wish I knew the artist who made this. I don't even know if this is actual paint or not, or if this is digital, or if it's colored pencil. It's pretty. I just don't know how it was made, medium-wise. But let's look at this. So, first of all, what's the theme or message of this work? I hope it's really clear. Jesus Christ has defeated the devil for us. So, if we look at this image, we see that, that Jesus is crossing the mess out of the devil. Devil's having a bad day, broken ankle right here, maybe broken wrist catching himself. Jesus wins over Satan is basically the theme of this image. But there's some really cool techniques in this image that really bring out that theme. Let's talk first about color on this one. Notice the contrasting color. It's basically the contrast between light and dark, good versus evil. Obviously, Jesus is clothed in white, along with this little red cloak right here. Notice that the devil is largely painted in these dark colors, dark maroon. I think it's interesting how there is a little bit of whites on him right here, but that's actually the light that's coming off of Jesus' head that's shining onto the devil right there, which is interesting too. Notice that humanity is painted in these blues and browns as well, kind of earthy tones right there. But it's really this battle between light and dark in this image right here, as we look at the colors. Another thing to watch for in this image is directionality. Now, in the other art analysis video, Starry Night, I looked at brushstrokes, but there really isn't a big difference in brushstroke in this particular image right here. Just about everything has equal weight, which means it might be a digital image or it might be colored pencil. But as we look at this thing, one thing that is interesting is kind of the direction that everything is pointed. I'm always drawn to Jesus' eyes. He's staring straight down at the devil that he's crossed up right there, almost mocking him in this image. But also look at everyone else's eyes. All of humanity, except for maybe this guy, is watching Jesus. Some people have suggested to me that this could be Judas Iscariot. It's hard to tell as you think about this when this is happening, right? Jesus does not have the scars on his hands or feet. Maybe that's oversight on the artist's part, but notice how humanity is watching Jesus do this. Maybe they're watching in amazement or awe or wonder. Maybe this guy's watching in jealousy or curiosity or skepticism. But in any case, notice that all eyes are drawn to Jesus. Another thing that I think is interesting direction-wise is look at his hands. The title of this image is the Holy Cross, and notice that Jesus' arms are splayed out. Obviously, it's a crossover. It's a basketball move, and that's why his arms are spread out. But it reminds me of the cross on which he died as well. That's going to be important in a moment here. The focal point. So the focal point on this image is Jesus' face. Notice this very bright white aura around his head. This does make it a little more like a traditional Christian painting, right? Where they have like the gold or the white like circle around their heads to indicate that they're holy or divine. This might suggest that this is post-death, post-resurrection. The omission of the scars on his hands and feet might be an oversight once again. But notice once again, it emphasizes Jesus' holiness. It's those bright colors, those white colors, in contrast with the darkness of the devil right here. There is one more detail that I think is so important, and probably what I'm going to use to mainly formulate one of my thesis statements. It's perspective right here. Now, some terms for perspective with paintings. We've got foreground and background. The foreground is what's closest to us. What's closest to us as the viewer of this painting is the devil right here. In the background, what's furthest back is people. We have humanity right here. We've got all kinds of men and women. They're watching what Jesus is doing. Jesus is in the center ground, in the center of this entire painting. But think of what that means thematically, right? If you've got the devil in the foreground, I have to go this way. If you have the devil in the foreground and humanity in the background, That means that you literally have Jesus standing between the devil and humanity. And we can think of that as it pertains to the gospel message too, right? That in Jesus' death and resurrection, he has stood between us and the devil. He's defeated sin, death, and the devil for us, and he continually protects us from the devil's schemes in our lives, right? He gives us the power to resist temptation. He gives us the power to say no to our sin. He turns us away from our old sinful lives, and he connects us back to God. That's what he's doing in this painting too, in this image. He stands between the devil and humanity. Once we were looking at this in my family group once, and we tried to look at the basketball possibly as a symbol as well. That the devil is reaching towards this basketball, reaching towards perhaps God's creation, perhaps holiness. Jesus is taking it back away from him, and it's for our sake as well. Maybe that's a stretch, maybe not. But there is one literary device, maybe besides symbolism, that I would bring up big time in this image, and it's irony. As a reminder, irony is a difference between what's expected and what's experienced. In this case, the title of this painting, the title of this image, is ironic. The title of this image is The Holy Cross. Now, from a literal standpoint, it's talking about the crossover itself, that Jesus is literally crossing up the devil's ankles with a basketball move right here, right? That's the literal meaning of this title. But it has a figurative meaning too. It's the cross on which Jesus Christ died. Once again, his arms are splayed out like they were on the cross as well, which evokes that image. But that's also to suggest that we're thinking about the cross, Christ's death, his sacrifice as well. And we can connect that thematically too, right? This crossover is as Jesus defeating the devil. He's beating him in a game of one-on-one. But the cross itself, the crucifix, where Christ was crucified, was also a way in which Jesus defeated the devil. That in dying, in resurrecting from the dead, he defeats sin, death, and the devil in the same way that he's defeating the devil in one-on-one b-ball right here. Notice the thematic connection between the two. I'll probably write one of my thesis statements about that irony, but let's look at it. So it's time to write some thesis statements here. I think what I'm going to do for this one, oh, and I forgot to write that in, the Holy Cross refers both to the basketball crossover and Christ's sacrificial crucifixion. Both are ways in which Christ defeats Satan. There we go. Let's write some thesis statements right here. I think what I want to do for this one is write one specifically about artistry only, and write one about the irony too. Let's do artistry first. For my art focus one, I think I'm going to focus on the colors the most. The artist's, because I don't know his or her name, use of color in the Holy Cross captures, no apostrophe, Jesus captures Jesus' defeat of the devil. The focal point of the image, especially, illustrates good's triumph over evil. There we go, little two-sentence thesis right there. The artist's use of color in the Holy Cross captures Jesus' defeat of the devil. The focal point of the image especially illustrates good's triumph over evil. Notice there I might do, once again, two body paragraphs, color and color contrasts in one, especially discussing the focal point, that aura around Jesus' head and his face, in another body paragraph. For this one, I think I'm going to focus on the irony the most. The ironic title, the Holy Cross, I use capture a lot in this. The ironic title, the Holy Cross, doubly, meaning twice as much, doubly explores Jesus' defeat of Satan. So notice there I'm taking it from a literary perspective. I'm going to mix a little bit of artistry in here by talking about perspective. The artist's clever use of perspective The ironic title, The Holy Cross, doubly explores Jesus' defeat of Satan. The artist's clever use of perspective metaphorically represents this theme. This theme also. There we go. This one I wanted to represent a little more in a literary sense, right? We're talking about irony, the idea that the Holy Cross is an ironic title, and how that means two different things in Jesus' defeat of Satan. We can also discuss how perspective ties in too, right? That theme is also metaphorically represented by the idea that Jesus stands between the devil and humanity, the same way that he does so on the cross as he's being crucified. I hope you had fun with this one. It's kind of a funny painting, but as you notice, it has some pretty deep meanings and cool techniques in it as well. Especially if you are going to be analyzing a piece of artwork, I hope this is helpful for you.